everybody. Welcome to Laughter Talks. This is Marguerite Fair. And I just said to Pepper, we look like salt and pepper today. We're like
Yes, we
doing
do.
the opposite thing, and it's fun. Now, before we get to talking, let me give you a proper introduction because my guests always want to know exactly what's going on and who I'm talking to. So now Ingrid Palomo is an actor, and she's also known as Pepper, and she's a comedian and writer with the objective of providing audiences a distraction from problems and to also help make our living experiences a little bit better, which is a wonderful aspiration. Now, born in Southern California, after attending the University of California, she trained dramatically at a local well respected studio school and studied also acting in Santa Monica College. Ingrid also trained with the Groundlings for a year and in comedy and improv she did there. Now, she started her career working background with extra work, as well as learning about sets, directing, and working in front of and back of the camera. And she's also done stand up comedy at various clubs and venues, including Club Cohiba, yeah,
Cohiba, yes,
Cohiba in
yes.
Long Beach, and the Comedy Store in LA. Now, she's also this woman is fantastic. She's also done crew work as a script supervisor, set designer, location scout, and production assistant on many independent projects. Well, now,
Thank you.
Ingrid, first of all, welcome so much. Thank you for being here. How did you
Oh,
have time to be here today? How
thank
did
you
that
for
happen?
having me. How,
Huh?
it's an honor just to be here. I love your shows. I love what you do on YouTube, and you're very talented. You're a very talented writer and comedian and actress in your own right, and I love what you're doing. I'm fully supportive of what you're doing. It's
Thank
great.
you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you. I'm a one-woman show sitting here in my little studio.
Yes.
But it's nice, in introducing you. It's really the way when you we come from the University of Life, because when you learn better by doing all these things, which you've done. Now, I know you have a new comedy show that we're going to talk about in a minute, but first I want to ask you this. How did you decide to pick comedy as your basic genre? What first hit you that you knew, oh, this I think is it?
Well, I had a lot of inspirations. I actually I did a little coaching with a gentleman. His name's Adam Barnhart. He's a great guy. I urge people also look him up sometime. Adam Barnhart's a great comedian, writer, and he actually inspired me. I think that the value of comedy to me is a very personal thing, and it's also a very psychological thing because I think Charlie Chaplin famously said, comedy is tragedy plus time. And I think it's a way to process our experiences. It's turning, lemon into lemonade.
Yeah.
It's basically that's what a lot of comedy is. And it's interesting that actually, in my former life, I did some acting, and I love dramatic acting as well. My best acting job was with Ellen Burstyn and Heather Graham. I had a role in a
Oh.
Lifetime movie in that, a very small role, but I was really interesting. I have an actor pass. I also do some writing. I haven't done a lot of with that, and I haven't done obviously a lot of promoting of things I do. And
Yeah.
I thought maybe I should start doing that again.
Yeah, exactly.
But comedy, goes way back to ancient Greek times. People don't realize how old comedy is. Back in the day, when Greek audiences used to go to their plays, the famous ancient Greek plays, they would actually have a comic relief because sometimes tragedies were too much to deal with, right? Like there was a lot of too much reality. And so the ancient Greeks were just geniuses when it came to these things. And they would have comedy after the tragedy. So when people had already experienced the tragedy of watching a play, well, hopefully it was, obviously in the sense of artistic tragedy, right? Not tragedy,
Yeah.
but so that audiences wouldn't leave sad, they actually they would have the comedy come after. And so it was a full, full entertainment experience, but also very full psychological experience, because the term catharsis came from the Greeks. Catharsis was that experience, right, of fully being engulfed in an emotion, but then releasing it. And I just thought, wow, that is so brilliant. I think that is the value of comedy. And most of the time you'll notice that, I mean, I'm among all kinds of people. I've worked with C-level executives, to just ordinary everyday people, and I love being around all kinds of people. I don't like to just be around one kind of person, because you learn so much from everyone.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and one of the things I learned is that people really do love comedians, and sometimes if you tell someone, oh yeah, I'm an actor, an actor, sometimes they may not always appreciate that, and they have this preconceived view an actor and actress as a total narcissist, and oh, we don't really like those kind of people, and this and that. When you talk to ordinary people, everyday people, but when you tell them you're a comedian, they just love you. And one of the things in my life is I always wanted people to really like love me, and I found a lot of power in comedy too, because you could say a lot of things in comedy and make people laugh, but you're telling them something that's true.
Exactly.
You're telling them
That's
the
a real
truth.
benefit to it. A lot of comics, like I think of George Carlin, eventually they just end up turning into philosophers because they're talking about the truth. But before we go any, a lot of people have said to me, Marguerite, why don't you do stand up? And you know why I never did? I'm not brave enough. It takes a lot of guts to get up there on that stage and do what you do, because I was always terrified. Suppose I go up there, nobody laughs. I'm mortified. But now tell us about your show.
Well, let me tell you something about that, though, Marguerite, that but most people don't realize. Every famous comic, every famous comedian has bombed. Like, there's always been a moment in their career. I mean, just name the comedian. Everyone at some point has bombed, and
Wow.
part of the issue is sometimes not knowing the audience. What's funny to one person is not going to be funny to the other, because of the context, because of our so much varied human experience,
Yeah.
and the references, depending on the all walks of life. I mean, there are people that they're going to get it or they're not, because depending on what their life is like.
Yeah.
So every famous comedian has bombed, and I think that should be a point of inspiration for people in general. You have to fail to succeed, right? I mean, there's
Oh
always
yeah,
there has
God,
to
I'm
be
yeah, a bigger writer,
has
a
right the
filmmaker.
old
Yeah.
adage, there has to be failure to succeed,
Yeah.
and you have to embrace that. And so you know, to me, like, well, my personal life has all been about taking risks, and taking calculated risks. And you have to, in order for you to grow, there has to be pain, and um, there has to be risk. I
Yeah.
mean, you just have to take, like, calculated risks, and you're right. It does take a certain amount. Yeah, there is that element of bravery,
Yeah.
and sometimes just like sometimes you're just stupid, but it's like, but you take a risk, and you go out there and you do it, and it's been one of those great experiences in life that I've been very lucky. Like, if I used to say in my old Twitter account, I used to say, if I have made somebody laugh today, I hope I have saved a life, because it's all right now. We should all be into
Yeah.
comedy. I didn't realize last year, and that's something I really love about your show with Laughter Talks, is uh you're providing a real service to people, because just last year, like, the highest amount of suicides,
Oh, yeah.
the
It's
highest.
horrible what's going on. Because people do, they lose their sense of humor. They can't find joy. You can't focus on all that. So yeah, laughter. And you talk about it being life-saving. Laughter actually did save my life. I'll just tell you very quickly, I was in an abusive relationship for a long time, and it was horrific. And all of a sudden, one morning, I woke up laughing. Nothing made me laugh. I woke up laughing. I fell out of the bed. I held my stomach. I laughed so long and hard. And after that, I was healed. After that, I started to get my life together, resolve that situation. So it's very powerful. So tell us about your venue. Where are you going to be? Because we want to know everybody that's in LA where they can
Sure.
go see you.
Yeah, and just going back a little to what you just said, the nature of life is absurd, and
Yeah,
you have to laugh because it's
yeah.
like you have sometimes you have a choice, and you have to make that choice. But yeah, sure. It's actually my next show is going to be Monday, October 2nd.
Okay.
There's it usually starts about 7:30, but it's the technically the time is 7, and it's at the Universal City Bar and Grill on Lancashire. It's right near Universal Studios.
All
So
right.
it's off the 101. It's very easy to get to. Just get off on the Lancashire exit, Universal City Bar and Grill, and the gentleman who hosts that show is Chris Putro. Chris is has been hosting that a show called The Crispy Show. So, and he calls them crispy. So every time there's a show, each one's a crispy. So he's a great guy. I love him. He's just a great host. And it happens at least like once a month there, and there actually a couple of other there can be a few other comedians, and he's gracious enough to always to invite me back, and I really appreciate it.
That's
So
wonderful. That's
yeah,
wonderful.
so thank
And
you.
don't you find you like developing your own following? Because I notice I've been watching those Netflix specials with comics. I just love it. And the ones that have been doing it for a while, their audiences are very specific. They know their comedy, they know what they're going to see, and you can see where it really clicks. It's
Yeah,
like amazing. It really is amazing. And so yeah, we're gonna put that up here so that people go see. I wish
thank
I was
you.
still in LA. I'm in Oklahoma now, or I'd be able to go see you. And I want to tell people you were on one of my Laughter Talk Halloween specials, and it was funny as a hoot because this one pops up as the COVID virus. COVID was just starting and everything, and there you are like a big virus. And it was so funny. So
Oh
you do
yeah, with
like
my
to
big ball.
yeah, you do like
That's
to
my big
take
ball.
chances. So that's really good. So you've also done a lot of shorts. I looked at your IMDb. You've got a lot of reels that people can go see up there. And it's just amazing I'm so glad that you came on the show because now I always like to ask my guests this question, and it's very important. You're the first comic I've had on,
Oh,
and I
really?
really,
Oh,
really
I'm so
like this.
excited.
So
Thank you.
you're very inspirational. And if you had an opportunity to speak to someone younger than you, the women that want to get into comedy, what would you suggest they do to make the first jump and get into it?
I think one of the most important things, and I welcome people to always come to me for some advice because I like I said, I've been around all kinds of people. I've been around media moguls to to other A actors to to C actors, D actors, Z actors, whatever you want to call it, and and I think one of the things is to really learn this business, to learn not just the craft of acting, but nowadays especially you have to know the business. You can't just rely on your representation or your you can't just rely on one thing. You really have to learn the business.
Yeah.
And I think that nowadays as has been said probably for a while, probably for at least 10 years, you should be a kind of multi hyphenate. You should learn to be writing scripts. You should be learning things behind and in front of the camera. It's not just about learning the craft of acting or anything that's just the creative part. Learn the business. Learn how it works. There are organizations out there that are nonprofit to kind of help you learn. Lawyers for the Arts is one of them. I just a shout out, like anybody who wants to learn more about the legal aspects of this business. Lawyers for the Arts is a great organization. There are a lot of women in media is a great organization as well, and they're all over the country. Women in film too.
Yeah.
So, network with people, get to know this business in and out. One of the best things also is, and I know I know not everybody wants to do that kind of work, but doing the extra work really helps because you learn how sets work.
Yeah.
You if you pay attention and you just you see what happens in a set, TV or movie, and what the differences are and what have you. So really get educated on the business, not just the craft. That would be the one thing.
That's very good advice, and it is important because you hear that with singers and actors. They trusted their managers or agents, and you have to be very proactive these days with writers and filmmakers also. That's why independent work is so on the rise now, because you have to do it. So I noticed it, I think it was in your email, it said that you do, which this was good advice, but you like to counsel women in general. So could we close by you saying how exactly do you reach out to people, or how can they reach out to you? How do you like to be contacted? How about that?
Sure. Well, they could find me on Facebook, on Instagram also. Instagram, I'm Peppers Palomo on Instagram, just Peppers, and my last name Palomo. So yeah, please, yeah, reach out. I mean, I like to help people. I welcome people to. I'd like to share my wisdom. It's really, I really, especially a lot of women, because I think in some ways this business can be harder on women than men. I mean, I think it's hard for everyone,
Yeah,
but I think that it's a little harder sometimes for women.
yeah.
And so I really, really encourage people to reach out to me if, they questions or anything that they want a little bit of advice. I mean, I'm not like an expert. I don't know everything, but what I do know, I am more than happy to share.
Well, thank you. And I did want to get that out there because it's important. It's wonderful to give back and be helpful. So thank you. And Ingrid, thank you so much for being on the show. I love you. This has been wonderful. And much luck with your upcoming show. And feel free to keep sharing this link so you get everybody in LA to go out and see your show. And
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much.
information here. Now, everybody subscribe as it's going by here.
Yes.
And I love you. I love everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Mwah. I always like to